Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's video, we're going to be seeing how much ChatGPT knows about cubing. There have been many videos of this type recently, but I kind of wanted to see two things. First, obviously whether or not it can solve a Rubik's Cube. But second, I also kind of want to see how much cubing trivia it knows, which I haven't actually seen many people do. So this is going to be a very fun video. Let's get right into it. Before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to NitroChecks and Tufi Cubing. They have asked for this shout out a long time ago, but I've never gotten a chance to actually give them one. So here it is, and it would be amazing if you guys can go and sub to their channels, because I'm sure they'd appreciate some extra subscribers, even though it might just be a couple. First, let's figure out if ChatGPT can solve a Rubik's Cube. Can you solve a Rubik's Cube? So as you can see, it actually says it can solve a Rubik's Cube, and based on the steps it's given, it actually has a very good understanding of how you're supposed to solve it. But the one thing you have to keep in mind is that it's actually what we call a language model. And what this means is that it knows a lot about the topic, but it doesn't really necessarily understand more than a topic than it can talk about it. So what this means is that even though it says it can solve one, it doesn't necessarily mean it can. So as you can see, it gives all of the steps correctly, and it actually gives them in a lot of detail. I'm not going to go and verify all of these algorithms, but just glancing at it, everything looks about right. So now for the ultimate test, I'm going to go grab the algorithm from CS Timer, and we're going to be seeing if we can actually solve it. So again, it's giving me all of the steps, but what I actually want to see is if it can actually give me the solution. Okay, so I finally got ChatGPT to give me the actual scramble to solve the entire thing, but from what I can see so far, this is probably not going to work. So I'm going to go ahead and plug this into out.cubing.net and let's see what happens. And not so surprisingly, it's not even close. And again, this all goes back to the fact that this is a language model, so it doesn't actually understand what it's trying to do. All it understands is that D2 most likely comes after F2, so it's just trying to play around with all of the moves like that. I'm actually going to play this and see what it's trying to do, because it might have some form of logic in here. So after going through that, the only interesting thing I found was this small little block right here. I don't know if it's on accident or maybe it was a coincidence, but maybe it was actually trying to build a block here, but we'll never know. Now that we have all that said and done, I want to get into a little bit more of a cubing trivia sort of thing. The first thing that I'm going to ask it . So keep in mind that its knowledge is being cut off to September 2021, so it's not the most up to date. But based on these suggestions, I'm actually quite impressed that it's getting most of these things correct. So the GAN 356X, of course, back in 2021, it was a really good cube, and it's still a really good cube today. And you also have the Wayland GTS 3M, which again is still a very good cube. And the RS3M 2020, of course, that is still a classic today, and it's an amazing speed cube. So when it comes to that, it's actually giving some very good suggestions. Next, I'm going to go ahead and ask it, who is the best speed cuber? Now, this is obviously very controversial, so I'll see what it says. Yeah, we have a lot of big names here. We have Felix Zemdegs, we have Max Park, we have Yushin Du, of course, world record holder, and Mats Volk. It did leave out Timon, but it got most of the other names correct, so I'll let that one slide. Next, I'm going to be asking ChatGPT some quirky little things about cubing that might trip it up. So, first of all, so if you don't know, an X-cross is generally defined as a cross that you would do your first F2L pair with. This means that you're getting your first F2L pair at the same time that you finish your cross. However, a cross plus one is more commonly defined as where you would do your cross first, but you also know where the F2L pair would end up after, which means that you do the F2L pair right after you do the cross. So there's a little bit of a difference here, but let's see what ChatGPT thinks about this. Well, I'm actually really impressed by this answer because I tried this a while ago and I wasn't able to get it correct, and now it is. So this is actually really crazy. It basically knows what both of these are. So for the X cross, it says makes a 2x2 block, usually in the shape of an X, which is not actually correct because the X stands for extended cross. But ignoring that, the rest of it is actually correct because it says as part of the first two layers of the cube while simultaneously solving the cross. While cross plus 1 involves solving the cross as the initial step, followed by an additional F2L pair. And it even knows that the main difference is the order of solving the cross and the initial pair. So this is actually very impressive because this knowledge is probably very deep somewhere in the cubing wiki or somewhere in YouTube. So I'm actually very surprised it was able to find it. Alright, last but not least, I kind of had this interesting idea to see if I can actually make ChatGPT sort of solve a Rubik's Cube. So first I'm going to be able to teach it something, and then I'm going to be seeing if that knowledge actually helps it quote unquote solve a scramble. So that one thing that I'm going to teach it is the fact that reversing the scramble, or I guess you can say inversing the scramble, basically makes the solution for the scramble. And when you're given this scramble and you're asked to make a solution, it's a valid way to do it. So let's see if ChatGPT can understand. Alright, so I've actually gotten it to inverse it, and let's just check if it's correct. Again, I'm going to be plugging these into out.cubing.net. I'm actually quite surprised I wasn't able to do this because it's a very algorithmic thing, but again, it's supposed to be a language model, so maybe it couldn't have done it, but I sort of expected a little bit more because I literally told it how to do it and it could perfectly explain what inversing the moves meant. So I don't know why I wasn't able to do it for this large sequence of moves, but I guess if I fed it one move at a time, it could do it just fine. But you know, it's not really like solving it if you kind of give it one move at a time and asked it to inverse it. So, you know, it's a little bit closer this time because it actually kind of has an idea. But again, I told it that idea, so I'm not sure if it actually counts. All in all, ChatGPT is a very exciting prospect, but it can't do certain things really well just yet, such as solving the cube, or, you know, even like really understanding what you're telling it. It's sort of just guessing as to the next string sequence. But with that said, it's still really good at, you know, kind of giving you information about a specific task. As you can see, like I gave it all of these trivia questions and it was basically able to get them 99% correct. So that's still very impressive. With that, hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.